Ayaan Hirsi Ali has just recently cancelled a tour of Australia and New Zealand as a result of, amongst other things, security concerns. Ayaan's story is well publicized. She was born and raised Muslim and was a victim of female genital mutilation when she was just 5 years old. As a teenager, she supported the fatwa issued against Salman Rushdie. She sought asylum in Holland and was granted refuge while using the name of her grandfather. She renounced Islam in 2002, and since then she has been a critic of Islam who has engaged in many debates. She opposed Islam harshly and spoke against the mistreatment of women. She feared that the multiculturalism policy within the Netherlands served to legitimize the bigotry and mistreatment of women as a respectable and alternative way of life. She called for the state to log the number of honor killings as they weren't even being recorded as an individual statistic. In 2003, she was elected as a member of parliament. In 2004, she collaborated with filmmaker Theo van Gogh on the script and provided the voice narration for a short film called Submission. The film was critical of the treatment of women in Islamic society. In November of that year, Theo van Gogh was murdered by Mohammed Bouyeri, an Islamic terrorist from the Hofstede network. He was repeatedly shot, stabbed, and slashed. The killer wrote a 5-page letter that was pinned to Van Gogh's body with a knife calling for the execution of Ayaan Hirsi Ali for apostasy. In 2007, she was quoted in an interview with Reason magazine. She said, "I accept that there are multitudes seeking God, seeking meaning, and so on. But if they reject atheism, I would rather they become modern-day Catholics or Jews than that they become Muslims. Because my Catholic and Jewish friends are fine. The concept of God in Jewish orthodoxy is one where you're having constant quarrels with God. Where I come from, in Islam, the only concept of God is you submit to him and you obey his commands. No quarreling allowed. Quarreling, or even asking questions, means you raise yourself to the same level as him. And in Islam, that's the worst sin you can commit. Jews should be proselytizing about a God that you can quarrel with. Catholics should be proselytizing about a God who is love, who represents a hereafter where there is no hell, who wants you to lead a life where you can confess your sins and feel much better afterwards. Those are lovely concepts of God. They can't compare to the fire-breathing Allah who inspires jihadism and totalitarianism." Now this explains a great deal about her perception of the difference between Islam and the other religions. The interview continues with perhaps her most often cited quote, used by those in the Muslim community who wish to silence her. Reason magazine asks, "Should we acknowledge that organized religion has sometimes sparked precisely the kinds of emancipation movements that could lift Islam into modern times? Slavery in the United States ended in part because of the opposition by prominent church members and the communities they galvanized. The Polish Catholic Church helped defeat the puppet regime. Do you think Islam could bring about similar social and political changes?" Ali responds, "Only if Islam is defeated, because right now the political side of Islam, the power-hungry, expansionist side of Islam, has become superior to the peace-seeking Muslims." "Don't you mean defeating radical Islam?" "No, Islam, period. Once it's defeated, it can mutate into something peaceful. It's very difficult to even talk about peace right now. They're not interested in peace. We have to crush the world's 1.5 billion Muslims under our boot? In concrete terms, what does that mean, defeat Islam? I think that we are at war with Islam. There's no middle ground in wars. Islam can be defeated in many ways. For starters, you stop the spread of the ideology itself. At present, there are native Westerners converting to Islam, and they're the most fanatical sometimes. There is infiltration of Islam in the schools and universities of the West. You stop that. You stop the symbol burning and the effigy burning, and you look them in the eye and you flex your muscles and you say, "This is a warning. We won't accept this anymore. There comes a moment when you crush your enemy." She continues, "I think that's where we're heading. We're heading there because the West has been in denial for a long time. It did not respond to the signals that were smaller and easier to take care of. Now we have some choices to make. This is a dilemma. Western civilization is a celebration of life. Everybody's life. Even your enemy's life. So how can you be true to that morality and at the same time defend yourself against a very powerful enemy that seeks to destroy you?" The quote about her believing we are at war with Islam is the part used over and over again as evidence of her Islamophobia and hate. Since 2007, her views have changed, been updated, and they've become more moderate. She now believes that reformation must take place within Islam itself for the greatest chance of success. Often, she will talk about those who can contextualize the Quran and modify it based upon the world we live in today. She believes that a reformation based on groups following their own updated interpretation of Islam is the way forward, as groups turn less and less to clerics, imams, and scholars for guidance.
But today, I've been following events since the Arab Spring, and I see grassroots movements, women that organize themselves in the various countries who are fighting for their rights, homosexuals who organize themselves, ex-Muslims. Majid, what is your status? Sort of almost ex-Muslims.
I've just been excommunicated.
Almost ex-Muslims. So there are grassroots.
You're trying to get me killed or what?
Well, I mean, I'm really happy with your evolution. We debated 3 years ago, and what you said tonight and what you were saying 3 years ago are quite different. And it's an evolution that I'm happy with. But there are these. There are these seemingly small groups, but they're a growing number of people. And I think, in a way, it is good that we no longer need, and I really mean respectfully, that the House of Islam is no longer going to rely on the clergymen and Muslim scholars to advance the quality of their lives and to live according to their consciences. People are taking that opportunity themselves. And it's only a matter of time before either there is a pure reformation or the majority of Muslims will be ex-Muslims.
In order to stop Ayaan's speaking tour, a petition was signed by 431 people calling for the engagements to be cancelled. This position is reflective of a huge diversity of opinion amongst Australian Muslim women. Although we are not a homogenous group, we are united in our condemnation of Hirsi Ali's discourse, which is grounded in hate-mongering and bigotry. In addition, through positive action and collaborative and sustainable community-centric leadership models, we have strived for decades to empower Muslim women both locally and abroad. Hirsi Ali's sheer presence in Australia undermines both intra- and inter-community efforts towards social cohesion and in providing platforms for Muslim women to champion their own causes. Her sheer presence in Australia is what they're against. Not only her ability to speak, but just even to be in the country. We condemn any representation or interpretation of Islam that condones violence against women. We utterly reject any Islamic basis for the violence that has occurred to Ayaan Hirsi Ali in her life and the violence perpetrated to women all over the world who have fallen victim to culturally influenced misogynistic abuse. Culturally influenced misogynistic behavior. Islam has nothing to do with it? Nothing? It's just cultural without any religious basis? Undergoing female genital mutilation was just a cultural thing? Nothing to do with Islam? We welcome and encourage vigorous discussion and debate regarding Islam and the status of women. However, to conflate hate speech with free speech undermines both the intelligence of our community and the efforts we have made to maintain respect and dignity in an environment of such hostility. Ayaan Hirsi Ali's conversation does not contribute to any insights nor further the debate in any way. This is simple sensationalism designed to fuel division and hate. Australia deserves better than this. Hate speech. There's that term again. Since governments around the world have legitimized the term, groups get a hold of it and make it their own. Hate speech and Islamophobia are often used to stifle criticism of any kind. 431 signing a petition is one thing. 2,000 tickets had been purchased by people wanting to hear Ayaan speak. Besides the petition, a group called the Council for the Prevention of Islamophobia and a representative named Saeed Murtaza Hussain have been harassing the venues Ayaan was to be speaking at. Over the past week, the organization hosting her has been harassed. Its insurers have been contacted and warned there could be trouble. Venues where she is scheduled to speak have been contacted, warned there will be protests, and urged to cancel her engagements. Much of this has been done by an individual called Saeed Murtaza Hussain of the Council for the Prevention of Islamophobia, Inc. He informed Festival Hall in Melbourne that there would be 5,000 protesters outside the venue if engagement went ahead. Does Saeed Murtaza Hussain even exist? So they took a look at some of the records. I did a search here myself, and the council did come up. I looked up the council, and you need to pay fees to retrieve any further information. I was able to find a copy, however, of the incorporation extract that someone else had posted. You can see that the secretary of the Council for the Prevention of Islamophobia is named Saeed Wasim Razvi. He is the organizer of an event called the Australian Islamic Peace Conference, which was held in 2013 and 2017. He's also the president of the Islamic Research and Education Academy. Here is a poster for the Australian Islamic Peace Conference that was held last month. I love the images of the 3 women who were scheduled to speak at the event. One of them, a psychologist, Monique Toohey, pulled out of the event because of this. She was rightfully insulted. When people complained to Wasim Razvi and the event organizers, they provided a reason for hiding the faces of the women. Due to the growing Islamophobia, our campaign team wanted to be extra cautious with female guests so they wouldn't be targeted in the streets. But while Ms. Toohey told 3AW that may have been one factor, she said some organizers did not believe women should show their faces in public. Host Tom Elliott asked, "Is it possible this conference is organized by a very conservative strain of Islam that honestly believes women should not show their faces in public?" Ms. Toohey replied, "I don't think that's very far from the truth at all. There's definitely people on the committee of the conference that believe that, but that's not something I believe. The reason that they hide women's faces is because of Islamophobia. Unbelievable. Nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with Islam. We're protecting her from Islamophobia." The invited keynote speaker at the 2013 Australian Islamic Peace Conference did not attend. Even though he had publicly prayed to God to terminate the Jews and called them the scum of humanity, the rats of the world, prophet killers, pigs and monkeys. There was a drought in 2006. In his prayer for rain, he blamed sin and specifically women unveiling, mingling with men, and being indifferent to the hijab. Now, this type of speech gets you an invitation to speak at the Australian Islamic Peace Conference. When Ayaan Hirsi Ali calls for help to those within Muslim communities who are struggling for basic rights, that warrants accusations of hate and Islamophobia and is followed with threats and calls to insurance companies.
What can America do to help?
I have a request. America, since September 11, 2001, has been helping and focusing and picking, the leaders, those who say that Islam is a religion of peace and who try to reinterpret it and who try to tell us what we want to hear. I want to say, please, Americans, whether it's politicians or civil society, there are now individuals, especially in those Arab Spring countries, women fighting for women's rights, homosexual Muslims fighting for their civil rights, religious minorities. These are the individuals and the groups that you need to help. They are floundering, they are under-resourced, and they are our allies when it comes to our value systems of individual freedom and conscience. They're the ones who need our help. We need to shift and start helping them.
The response to her invitation to speak was also met by a video posted on Facebook of Australian Muslim women saying, "Ayaan Hirsi Ali, you don't speak for me." And you know what? They're right. Ayaan Hirsi Ali doesn't speak for them. She speaks for herself because she can. While these Australian Muslim women describe Ayaan Hirsi Ali as using language of the patriarchy and misogyny, I don't see them making a video to support the women in Iraq, where Article 409 allows for greatly reduced sentences for honor killings compared to other murders, and women need permission from a male relative to obtain a passport. While they say that Ayaan speaks the language of white supremacy, I don't recall their video about the plight of women in Kuwait, where there are no specific laws against domestic violence and marital rape is not even recognized, let alone punished. While they say Ayaan uses language to justify genocide, I am still checking Facebook for their video about women in Saudi Arabia, where women cannot drive and a rape victim needs the testimony of 4 males to get a conviction, knowing that she may also be convicted of adultery for coming forward. While they insist that Ayaan is selling hatred and misinformation, why not spend time making a video about the women in Yemen, where only 53% of girls get a primary school education? That's very close to half of all women not even receiving primary school. Finally, while you call her an extremist, I hear nothing from you about the women in Egypt, where 91% of women, that's 27.2 million women, have been the victims of female genital mutilation, the highest number of any single country in the world. Instead of bringing attention to the fact that 99.3% are subjected to sexual harassment in Egypt, you choose to try and silence the voice of a woman who criticizes the one thing that all of those countries have in common: They are all Muslim-majority countries practicing Sharia law. Any form of criticism of Islam is now met with calls of hate and Islamophobia, while imams who call for the death of Jews are welcomed.
Muslim leaders who are serious about achieving true and enduring peace need to revise the Quran and the Hadith so that there is a consistency between what the peace-loving Muslims want and what their religion says. We are now in America. Imam Faisal Abdul Rauf here tonight likes to compare the American Constitution to Sharia law. The Constitution is only 225 years old, and it has been amended 27 times. The Quran is at least 1,200 years old. It has not been amended once. What a shame. It is urgent and imperative to start these amendments. It's time to innovate, innovate, innovate. And I will do, ladies and gentlemen, what I can do to help. Thank you.
Remember, like and subscribe, but most importantly, leave comments and engage with others. Open discussion is always needed. If you have nothing valid to say,
ZeroFox given.